think it's 2023, and I
So
mean,
sorry, wrong questions. Yeah, influencers are a big part.
and of course with the market today, I think every business has influencers, and
Absolutely. I'm so
us more
sorry.
than any, I would say, because I don't know how important it is. I mean, word of mouth today is very critical, and our product sells through influencers. It sells through people showing it. It sells through people explaining it. And as you said, I mean, that competition that we ran, it was a very successful competition because I would say a lot of the community are people that want to express their feelings, express their thoughts, and through anime it allows them to express their feelings and thoughts more easily because you have the sad animes, you have the happy animes, you have the jolly animes, and it just never ends, right? Because there's so much newness coming.
Welcome to Marketing and Coffee podcast with Lijo. So welcome, Hassan. So how does it feel to be on the podcast?
Hello, Lijo. Thank you for having me today. It's a great pleasure to be with you as always. How I feel? I feel great. It's an amazing setup. Well done, and I'm very excited for today.
Awesome. So Hassan and I met Hassan maybe 2-3 years back, maybe.
Yeah, roughly. It's been 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah. So I met Hassan for the first time. This young, energetic, bubbly kind of a guy. Who does Little Things. So people who are watching, hearing this podcast, Little Things, Emmy. So before I get into the question, I would like to introduce Hassan. So Hassan is part of a larger group where Little Things is one of the products. So one of the brands. What are the other brands that? Because I looked at your LinkedIn and I saw that you started up as a content creator, and I was like, okay, this is something I did not know about Hassan, and that explains a lot of content that you create out there. So what are the other business groups that you have part of the business?
So here's the thing. Before I go into the business side, where the content comes in is as a child, I was always, not a child, but as a teenager, I would say, I was always the designer of my school. I made the yearbooks for 3 years continuously within my schools that where I was in. I was always the person that was running all the assemblies and all sorts of stuff like that. So I was always a part of content in some ways.
Right.
My goal was pretty much to go into content, go into marketing. I always had that creative side in me, so I was like, that's what I want to do. Growing up, I entered the family business. We're third generation family.
Right.
It started with my grandfather, followed by my father. We're third generation trading family, I would say, a trading family. Our initially, to go back to our origins, we started in 1986. Yes, it's been a while, before I was even born. It started with my grandfather, not 86, sorry, that's my brother's birthday, I'm sorry. In 1982, we started in Aras, where my grandfather came into Dubai. That time Dubai was just the Dera area and the creek. And from there, we established Tannan, which is the company today that's holding all of the groups of businesses together. And from there, I mean, we started with FMCG. We started export and import within the UAE. It was a great hub because we were in the bay, the Dera Creek, where the boats were coming in. We had access to the airport. It was the start of Dubai. It was the initial stages. And I remember those days, not those days, but years after when I was born, where I was just going to the neighborhood and then you just see all these huge families.
Right.
And then we were all in the same neighborhood, neighbors with each other. And it was just, you would never expect Dubai to go to where it is today.
Sure, I'm sure.
From there, my father took over the business. He took some brands and he became a distributor of many brands. And then in the year 2000, he decided, you know what, let me start my own brand. It's a kitchenware brand. And from there, it just exploded into the mother business today that Tannan holds, which is our kitchenware business. We pretty much are a manufacturer, distributor, and wholesaler of it. And we also do retail. And that's where I stepped in 2000 and, was it 12? I keep forgetting. 2012 or 10, I believe, somewhere in between there, where I stepped in. I was still in school, and at the time, I was new to retail. I had no idea what trading was because, again, I love the content side of things. And we went from distribution, wholesale, manufacturing into retail overnight. The first store I opened was Wassel with zero experience. I remodeled that store 3 times in a row in a period of 1 year. And it's a great experience. From there, we had Little Things that we took over from my father's friends, and until today, we have 6 different companies, and the 2 that I manage hands-on is Little Things, which is a part of today's discussion, and Jazeel.
Yeah, awesome. So just a quick one, since you have done trading, retail and online, what is the, now for Little Things, right? What would be the, consumers have changed, right? You started in 2012 in doing wholesale and retail, and then you moved on to having online as a presence, right? For Little Things as a brand or a product, right? Do you think it's a lot more touch and feel kind of a thing? Are consumers more comfortable online, or do you think that because you got now stores in Mall of Emirates, you got a store in Dubai Mall, all the top-notch malls, right? So what do you feel is the consumer behavior for your category?
So funny thing about Little Things, it started as a home collectible store. It wasn't a collectible store. It wasn't a kid's store. It wasn't a pop culture store at all. It was a home decor collectible store. So it wasn't like a home museum collectible store. And when I took over that business, it was boring. I didn't see the potential. Of course, there is a market share for it, but I just didn't see it. It was something where I was young, I was energetic. I'm still young. But I was just trying to get a new vibe into it. So one day I just went into toys. Toys became a big part of it. Toys did very well, but then I wanted to be a boutique toy store. I didn't want to become, those, Toys R Us, Hamleys. It's too big for me.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, let me make something small. And then it's called Little Things. So let me focus on the small, but then let's try to do big things because I can't keep it small. And then Collectibles came up, and we were the pioneers of collectibles in the market because nobody else wanted it. Everyone thought of it as a plastic figure that doesn't have a value because you can't play with it. It's a decorative piece. So from there, we went into this age and this culture that today is it's outpast sales of toys in some countries. And I really hope it does happen in the Middle East very soon. But looking at it, the kid adults today are much more than used to be in the past.
So the anime consumer is pretty much, how do you call it, very enthusiastic and very passionate, right? So how do you dive into that community? Because it's a very community thing. A lot of people do, they do cosplay, they do a lot more. So how do you, as somebody who sells into that category, how do you reach into that category?
So the biggest part is the community, and that's what we built our business on. The most important part is taking care of the community, providing a hub for the community, providing environments for them to hang out at, taking place in Comic-Cons and making sure Comic-Cons do happen. We do take place in Comic-Cons all over the region. We have two hubs that actually cater for the community more than retail. And that's our Mercato store in our Blue Waters, where we have the seating environment, we have the gaming environment, we have the board game environment. So that's what we do to go the extra mile.
I recently went to Unwind and I realized that you do have a board game environment. And I think there's some place I will definitely visit with my son. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yes, so just to add to that, when I say community, I pretty much focus on giving them a free environment where they can come and play. So when we look at like our Blue Waters and our Mercato, people come and play Pokemon cards on the weekend. They don't have to pay a single dirham to play it. Same thing with Blue Waters. I mean, if you walk in, you can play board games and you don't have to pay us anything. So we're not considering ourselves a board game store or a board game cafe. We just do it for the community, and that's what we focus on the most.
Right. So it's interesting to say that because it just you have to have the right key drivers, emotional drivers for consumers to walk into your store, and then based on the experience they end up buying or not buying. Is there a role of influencers in your industry? Is like those influencers, are there influencers in the industry? I remember recently you did an activation, made people to do some cosplay and do some videos as an activation kind of a thing. But is there a place for kind of influencers in your industry?
I think it's 2023, and
sorry, wrong question. Yeah, influencers are a big part.
And of course, with the market today, I think every business has influencers, and
absolutely.
us more than any, I would say, because I don't know how important it is. I mean, word of mouth today is very critical, and our product sells through influencers. It sells through people showing it. It sells through people explaining it. And as you said, I mean, that competition that we ran, it was a very successful competition because I would say a lot of the community are people that want to express their feelings, express their thoughts, and through anime it allows them to express their feelings and thoughts more easily, because you have the sad animes, you have the happy animes, you have the jolly animes, and it just never ends, right? Because there's so much newness coming out.
See, one interesting aspect, and I think it goes back to your family heritage also, is to get established in a category that it's not so easy at that point when you start off, right? Like if you look at it, 1982 over here in UAE, FMCG distribution may not be, it's like nobody's business over here. And then foraying into a category which is appliances, unheard of. You will never think that you will make an appliances brand based out of Middle East. And then you go on to a category which is collectibles and animes kind of a thing. So for somebody who's just starting off a new category or something, UAE or something, is there any specific marketing thing that you think would be of, because I keep believe that your product is your biggest marketing, but is there something that somebody should look into while planning marketing?
So I would say first, it's always better to go with something that isn't established, because when you're entering a market that's new in the market, it's very important that you have that edge. And when you have that edge, of course, the marketing plays the biggest part in it, because if you have the best product in the world, but you don't know how to market it, again, you're just stepping backwards. So having the right set of marketing plans put into place, having the right team on board. I always say, don't just do it yourself, hire people to do it for you, because you're not the expert. And there's always people that are better than you that can do it. So always make sure that you can collaborate, Everyone wants your best interest. That's why they want to work with you. So be open to collaboration and be open to...
On that note of collaborations, I know you recently created a content which got some amazing views on, which was a mix of, it was mixed reality with a content with video team and a graphic designing team, which got together, I call it mixed reality?
Yep.
Yeah. So how did it start and how is it coming through?
So here's the thing. I always wanted to make a TLT content when it comes to anime. But unfortunately, due to licensing, it's impossible to get one license to agree with another license to agree with another license. But then what happened was, okay, well, we don't need licensing anymore. We don't need anime. Let's use our figures. And when our figures talk to each other, we just bypass that. And on top of that, I had collaborated with very close friends that put that video together. They wrote the timeline, they did the animation. I had Spacetoon, which is a TV channel that does the dubbing for them, that did the translation, did the voiceovers for me. And then when it all came together from 3 different parties, it was a fantastic put together. So, Mass House Studio, we had Paul that did it as well, Design Line, I believe. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Design Line in Mass Out Studio
and
Spacetoon, 3 companies coming together to put it, and now we're broadcasting it out, and it's very, very interesting. It's a story that's being told, and it's interesting, I would say.
So when you create content like this, because your category is very unique and very exciting, and you're only limited by imagination, right?
Totally agree.
And time.
Yes.
Even if you have the best imagination, and we have seen that while working with you, it's also about executing it, right? How do you go about creating content? Because it has to be young, yuppie, and it's going to be exciting kind of a thing. How do you go about the entire process? And I know that you travel a lot, right? And how do you go about executing or planning this content that creates a huge amount of excitement in the category?
So the best time I get ideas, and a lot of my team gets ideas, is on the plane. Because we're down with internet, we have a lot of time to discuss, and ideas just keep popping up. So the more traveling, the more ideas, I say.
Right.
And then, of course, when we visit other countries, we get ideas from there. And just understanding different cultures and different vibes of different countries. Like when you go to Japan and you go to China, they're 2 different vibes. And you see neighboring countries sometimes, but again, different vibes, and that really helps with the ideas and puts a lot of things together for us.
Have they made you citizen of Japan yet?
Not yet.
But
soon, hopefully.
Very soon?
It's my 36th time now, so maybe the 50th day will.
Do you have a separate passport with Japan to get the stamp?
I had to renew my passport a few times.
just
but it's not even expired. It's like a 10-year passport, but I still have to renew because there's no more space. Japan's sticker is a bit too big.
So there's a lot of learning, Hassan, along this way. What would be your top 3 or 4 learnings that, or if at all, that you would like top of the mind that comes to you, which you would like to call out for consumers?
I love that question. I would say the first, take everything step by step. Everything happens in the right time. So try not to rush, but as well, don't be too slow. Because if you're too slow, you miss out. And if you're too fast, you miss out in the sense of you don't accomplish what your goal was initially. That's the first one I would say. The second one is listen to a mentor, have a mentor, listen to them, take their advice, and be more open-minded. I mean, a lot of people in today's world, they always blame others instead of blaming themselves. So if you reverse that and always blame yourselves, you'll see a big change in life and how things are achieved in life. And the last one I would give today would be create your routines, create habits, and those habits really help you achieve bigger goals for yourself and achieve bigger outcomes.
Great. So that brings me to the end of this. So
That was nice.
Yeah. So how does somebody get in touch with you? Like there can be multiple people who want to good talent that wants to work with you. Good suppliers who want to join hands with you. Considering your immense distribution strength in the Middle East. On the middle of before I close, what about Saudi? How are you expanding into? Are you planning to think of Saudi?
So what we did is we pretty much wanted to expand our retail, but at the same time we have our distribution. So we were like, which one do we focus on? So we went with distribution, and then we said, okay, for retail, we're franchising it out. And we've already had a few countries that signed off the franchise. We're in the final processes of opening the stores, and we're very excited for those stores that are coming up.
Excellent. So before we close, how does somebody get in touch with you? LinkedIn?
So I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Hassan Tamimi on LinkedIn, or on Instagram, it's htamimi.com.
Thank you so much for coming on this show, Hassan.
Thank you very much, Lijo.
Nice and I hope my listeners had a great value. I definitely had, because I did not know a lot of things, even though I met you so many times, right?
It's always nice to catch up.
Yeah, it's always nice to.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lijo. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.